just want to welcome everyone to this webinar on the ethical use of technology in psychotherapy. My name is Michael Jones. I am a licensed professional counselor in the state of Arkansas. I've been a therapist for 11 years, and for the past 3.5 years, I've practiced online. And so I want to be hopefully sharing some of my experiences today with you about practicing in an online environment and some of the ethical concerns that do come up with this practice. I want to spend some time today looking at the new Code of Ethics from the NVCC. They came out last year, which they are implementing this year, and also some of the newer softwares that you are able to use in this practice. One thing you will have noticed that software changes rapidly, and so we want to look at some of the newer things that are out and kind of compare them to some things that have been used in the past. We want to spend our time doing that today. When it comes to the different types of technology-assisted counseling, there's two different main methods that we primarily use. The first one is basically what we call synchronous methods, and this is when you're actually live with the client and the therapist at the same time. This is primarily the way in which I do my counseling. There are some people who do asynchronously, but I want to talk a little bit about some of the synchronous ways that can be used. The most popular way is the video-based type of chat, and this is where you are using some type of software. VC is the one I use the most, and I'll be talking more about that a little bit later on. But it is a video software where you're able to see your client face-to-face and be able to pick up on those facial cues and nonverbals as well as you're trying to talk to them about the problems they're dealing with. And so the video-based is probably the most popular one. Now, there are I guess second to that would probably be the telephone-based, where we still have people using the telephone to be able to do counseling. This is one that has been around, I'll probably say, the longest out of all the synchronous methods. We've been using those. It's just one that, I guess, one that people have not got the most knowledge, I guess, in, but it's been around for the longest. One of the newer ones is what they call social network-based, and this is where people are using social networks like Facebook, things of that nature, to be able to conduct counseling. Now, personally, that's not something I have dealt with, to be totally honest with you, just because of the privacy issues. And we will talk about that a little bit more later on. But I think one issue you have to be concerned about, especially if you're using any type of social media network, is being able to differentiate between your private life and then your professional life. And so being able to do that, I think it's going to be extremely important for you, because there's certain information that I don't want my clients knowing about me, and there's certain information I don't need to know about my clients except for what they are presenting in the counseling session. And so the social network base is one of the newer ways people are doing therapy online, and it is approved by the NVCC. But once again, it's one of those things where there's not really a lot of research out yet on using a social network. The asynchronous methods, those are the ones where you're not face-to-face with the client, where they may send information to you and you respond. And the email-based is definitely the most popular on those when it comes to asynchronous methods. Once again, there are some concerns I do have about the email-based. I guess one good thing about the email-based, they have an opportunity kind of to get their emotions and things out in one place. But the problem is how often are you responding to your clients, and if they have an emergency situation, how would you go about dealing with that? And so specifically with my clients, I don't do anything email-based, because if they're in crisis mode or something like that's going on, I want to know what's going on with them immediately, and I don't want for them to be sending in some note about them wanting to harm themselves through email or text-based. And so I do personally avoid the asynchronous methods, even though you are able to use those. But I'm more of the live type of live therapy with them, where I'm doing something with them while they're online. So at least for me, the synchronous methods are the ones I particularly care about the most. This is a study just want to quickly review this effectiveness of online counseling. And one thing that continues to come out when it comes to the research in this area is that online counseling still is effective and remains to be effective. I recently attended the the American Counsel Educators and Supervisor Conference in Colorado, and there was a lot of talk about online therapy and online education. And the one thing we continue to see over and over again is that there's not much significant difference when it comes to whether the therapy is being done online or the education is happening online. This particular study looks at methadone patients who had used group counseling in an online setting. And overall, we're seeing that the drug use decline was fairly similar between the two groups. And so when it comes to effectiveness, we're continuing to see throughout the data that's coming out that this is a viable source of therapy for our clients, to be able to have them to get their therapy in the comfort of their own home, if that's something they're used to or something they're wanting. And once again, it's not for everyone. It's not for every therapist to use this type of therapy, and it's not for every client to use this type of therapy as well. But once again, the studies that are coming out, and they continue to come out in the body of research, is that this is a viable way of getting therapy to our clients, especially those who may have an issue with coming into a traditional setting, or those who may be in an area where they're not able to find therapy close to them. And so we're seeing this as a viable option. When it comes to the potential clientele concerns, and this is just from some books I've read and also from my own practical experience, one of the biggest ones I've seen thus far is just the computer skills and knowledge of not only the therapist but also the client. Just like with online teaching and also in online education, some people who are really good at teaching on ground may not be the best people to teach online, because there is a different mindset that you come from. There's a different way of approaching your clients and students in that way. And so one thing I've seen that's been a big limitation in this field is making sure that the therapist is well trained in this type of therapy. And so it's going to be helpful regardless of what your not theological, but your counseling background is. You have to have some type of education and get some continuing education on how to make sure you're keeping up with the new software that is coming out, because it comes out literally on a daily basis on the things you can use. And so making sure that you're getting continuing education and continue to read journal articles, things like that, on this topic is going to help you. And so just the computer skills alone, I've seen has made a big difference in whether or not the client is a good person to work with, or whether or not we as therapists have those talents or abilities to do that. Also, just with online communication in general and online relationships, there's a lot of body of knowledge coming out where you see people, especially with online dating, how they in their mind they get a picture of the person that they are starting this relationship with, and we're seeing that's happening as well in therapy. That there is like almost a false sense of this relationship that they have with the therapist or with the client, because they don't see them face to face all the time. And so being able to have that, the video behind, I think helps out quite a bit in being able to connect with your client, and also making sure that they have some type of appropriate boundaries in this online communication. And so we're going to talk in a few minutes about how much time do you spend on time with your client. Do you have a 24-hour practice, which I hope you wouldn't? How often are you able to see your clients, things of that nature. All those things are going to come into play when we're looking at the right type of client. Because if the client is wanting to meet with you every single day, you may not be able to have the time or ability to do that with them. And so making sure you have some appropriate boundaries set up will help quite a bit in that area. Another thing I've noticed too is the age decline. I think has made a big difference. Personally, in my own practice, I don't work with clients under the age of 12 online, and I think one of my main concerns is making sure that for some reason the younger kids are not understanding what is real and what is not real. And I think when you go into an online environment, though, that being able to discern that for them is very difficult. And so I just purposely don't see clients under the age of 12 in an online environment. Some people do that. I think I'm more of a traditionalist when it comes to online therapy. That if I'm going to work with a kid, I want to see those kids face to face. I want to be there in the room with them versus doing it in an online environment. And so I think age does make a difference. Sometimes even with some of my older clients, they're not comfortable with the online environment. And so this, like I said, it is a matching process between you and the client, making sure that your age and everything matches up, and that what they're wanting to do matches up as well. And then I think once again, and the cost and convenience is a thing to consider. There is a lot of software out there that you can use in this practice, and you can spend a little bit of money on your software, or you can spend a ton of money. And so, obviously, in the economy that we're in, we want to make sure we're getting the most out of our money. And so, sometimes we can make our services sometimes cheaper or more affordable by using it online because of the overhead. Next, what we want to do is look at some of the ethical concerns, and this section has been updated from the previous training. We will look at some of the these are just a few of the issues that you want to make sure you're dealing with when it comes to. Also, we'll talk about some of the technical competencies, what are some of the skill levels they have, and also what those things make a big difference when trying to work with them in the online environment. In July of 2012, the NVCC updated their code of ethics. And I want to highlight some of the bigger points that they have made from the previous code of ethics that they had. One thing that is new, which I think is very smart, at least on their part, is to refrain from obtaining client information from social media outlets. We're in an information age where it's very easy to get information on just about anyone. Sometimes it'll take a few minutes and we'll Google myself just to see what information comes up about myself. And so there can be a temptation to want to Google or go on Facebook or Twitter or something like that and try to find our clients prior to us working with them or even during the process of working with them. The problem that, and at least what NVCC says the problem is that we're getting client information from them that we wouldn't have known unless they had freely offered that to us. And so they're saying we need to be very careful about refraining from getting any type of client information from social media outlets. That even though their Facebook profile may be open and maybe very public, they're still saying you don't need to get that information because, once again, it's almost like we're violating their privacy, and we want that same respect as well. And so I think that is a very good idea to use, is to make sure as much as possible staying off those social media outlets and just relying on information that your clients are giving you in the session. Also, another thing they talked about is retaining a copy of client files for a minimum of 5 years. There are several good places online where you can save information that are private, that they're very, very private. And what that does is keeps a record of everything you do. So even if you're meeting with them online all the time, anything written that you have from them, NVCC is saying you want to make sure keep a hard copy of those things and have those things stored online somewhere that's secure for a minimum of 5 years. That way you can go back and have that contact information there and have some record of what you've done with the client there. All right. Also, it says avoid the use of public social media to provide confidential information. You know, obviously, I don't want them going on my Facebook site, but obviously I don't want to be talking about my clients on Facebook or any other social media. And I've recently, just within the past week, heard of internship students or even therapists in general making negative comments about clients and even using their names or putting enough information on their social media that it wasn't very difficult to figure out who these people were. And so, just in best judgment, just avoiding use of any type of public social media, and once again, keeping that client confidential information, keeping it as confidential as possible. Also, providing a written procedure on client identification. One thing I specifically do to identify my clients, I have a software called Camtasia. It's a video screen recording. And what that does is, before I will work with any clients, I will get them to show me their driver's license on the webcam so I can see that and read the information off from there. And also ask them, are they coming to counseling under their own will, things of that nature. And I keep a copy of that saved. That way, if there's ever a question about me being able to verify who the client is, I have that information. I do also get them to go ahead and give me some type of code word to use during that first session. And reason why I do that is I try to do most of my sessions with video chat, but for some reason where we have to use a phone, whatever the case may be, I'm going to ask them what that password or code word is. That way I know that I'm still talking to the right person whenever we discuss anything. And so just making sure you have some written procedure for client identification and making sure the clients have that prior to starting counseling with each other. And this last point that they made, I think I found very interesting. I'm not sure exactly how you'll go about doing it, but they're wanting us to provide information on locations of free internet access. I guess the reason I find that problematic is most of the time when you find places with free internet access, those are places where there's a lot of people around. I can think of, McDonald's or many other coffee houses, things of that nature, where you can get free internet access, but I wouldn't necessarily send my client there to get their counseling performed in that way. And so, not really sure on the reasoning behind that part of the code of ethics, but that is something they're wanting us to make sure we try our best to do, is provide locations where they can have free access to the internet. All right. Once again, when it comes to informed consent, there's a few things to be thinking of. I've talked about a couple of these already. I think the biggest thing is the licensure issues. Is once again making sure you're licensed in the state in which you are practicing. I've had the opportunity to talk to each one of the boards in the United States, and the boards that are allowing technology-assisted counseling, they are saying you need to be licensed in that state. And so that becomes very difficult. You trying to, it's hard enough maintaining a license in one state. I cannot imagine being licensed in multiple states like that. And so if you are trying to venture outside your state, most states are going to tell you that you need to be licensed there. So I think it's just best practice that wherever your client is residing, check with the board there. I know a lot of people who are doing international type counseling where there's not a licensing board, and so that doesn't seem to be an issue for them doing it that way. But especially in the United States, if you have a client in another state that's want to work with you, it would behoove you to make sure you check in with that state licensing board to make sure that there's not an issue with you practicing with that client online, even though the client is coming to you. I do see this changing sometime in the future, especially with working with our military. I know that the VA hospital system, they're able to work across state lines already. So I think as things change with the government, that will continue to happen on the state level. But this is one of those things that I think it's going to take some time for it to happen. Also, just in your informed consent, you want to make sure you're going over the privacy of the counsel. Once again, I'm going to let them know about me trying to keep my information private as well as theirs, and what those responsibilities are there. Also, it's about availability. I am not open 24 hours, 7 days a week, and so I let my clients know how often I am available, or how often they're able to get when it comes to email, when I'll respond back, thing of that nature. And so just making sure they have some type of policy of knowing when you're going to be available, and when they can be able to get in contact with you. And so those are some of the more bigger points, I guess, when it comes to informed consent. Also, just once again checking for the appropriateness of the client. That was one of the first slides we talked about. Just make sure they are able to handle doing the counseling in the online sessions. One thing I do ask my clients not to do is to not archive any of the sessions. Now, I do usually archive sessions and record those and keep those for a time period, but I just don't want clients doing that towards me. And so once again, the reason is it's just for their own safety and well-being. I wouldn't want them recording the session and then me going on YouTube one day and find myself counseling somebody or anything of that nature. And so just to archiving the sessions, I do get client permission to record the sessions, but I do ask them not to record me while we're doing that. Also, just when it comes to information privacy, one thing I guess with us being in 2013, we had to realize that there really is no such thing as privacy anymore. I think we've, with the recent thing in the news about NSA watching pretty much everything that's going on, we really don't have information privacy. And so I think one thing we have to, regardless if we're on ground or online, is just to kind of come to terms with that. And I think one of the best things we simply can do is just make sure with our clients that we tell them we're showing them everything we can do in our power to keep the information private, and that they have a responsibility as well. So on my end, I'm making sure I'm using encrypted emails, things of that nature, and as much as they can on their end, making sure they're doing the same thing. But just once again, that anytime we go anywhere in public, there is a potential risk for information getting out. And so I think the quicker we can establish that with our clients, the better we'll be able to work with them, because they'll realize that, once again, that there's really no such thing as information privacy anymore, regardless of what type of information you're looking at. And then also on this slide as well, just looking at dealing with absence of your as a therapist. If you're going to be out of town, what policies and procedures do you have set up for that? How will they be able to get in touch with you if you're not in town for a certain time period? And so one thing I specifically do is I have a backup person who is able to work with clients while I'm gone, or it may be a thing where I alert my clients up to time period I'm going to be absent, and give them some type of crisis number to call, or whatever the case may be. But just making sure you're communicating that with the client. Also, just when it comes to technical competencies, I think one of the biggest points here is just making sure you are familiar with your computers. And the reality is that sometimes computers do not work, which we've already seen today. There will be times where internet access will simply just go out. Sometimes phones will drop your signals, things of that nature. And so you just want to make sure that your clients have some way, some backup way of getting in contact with you when those things begin to happen. Especially if you're doing a lot of online type therapy, some of the software and things you use of that nature, it may ask the client may have to download that software on their computer. Now, if they're not very tech savvy, they may not be able to do that. And so, being able to find a way of making sure they are at a competency level to use the technology you're using is going to be extremely important. And so I'll try my best to use software that is very easy to use and things where they don't necessarily have to download that much stuff. And I'm going to highlight a few of those here in a couple of minutes. Also, website information. I have like two different types of software, which I'll talk to you about in a couple of minutes. It is making sure you have a pretty well lined out website. Once again, establishing a method of verifying your client identity. You want to be able to do that. Also, making sure your links are working properly on your website. Remember a few years back going to a website and it was a crisis hotline website. It says click here if you're having a crisis, and I clicked on the link and there was an error. That link was not active anymore. And so obviously you wouldn't want to have something like that going on with your clients. And so you just want to make sure that that everything is active. And so about once a month I try to go on my website and make sure the links are working. I'm also making sure I continue to use encrypted email, which we'll talk about here in a second. But just once again, it's just making sure that as you go through your website, making sure it's as secure as possible. I think it's always good to get someone else that you trust, maybe even another therapist, to go to your website sometime and help you look at some things from a different perspective and get them to kind of look at some pros and cons of your website. Because I think if it's something that we see over and over again, we kind of get used to it, but having someone else's viewpoint may help us out quite a bit. So just getting someone to kind of consult with you as you to look through your website. Now I want to talk to you about some different technologies that are out there. In the original training that I did about 3 or 4 years ago, one thing that I talked about quite a bit was Skype. One thing that has changed in the past few years is with Skype is that we're seeing Skype having a lot more and more troubles with being with privacy issues. And so I actually have veered away from using Skype in any type of online counseling. One thing I have started using is called VC, and the website is vc.com. And this is software that pretty much looks a lot like Skype. The only difference is that it is HIPAA compliant software. And so for many people who use VC, they do have some free versions of VC where it has some basic functions to it. Or you can go to a paid version of VC where it has a few extra additional features with it. One thing I do like about VC, like I said, the video conferencing aspect, you can have, I think, up to 10 people on there at one time, if I'm not mistaken. I'll being able to see each other's faces. If we were doing maybe some type of group type counseling, I could definitely see and do that. It does have the highest level of online security available, and so for this type of software, I think it's very affordable. Now there are several others out there that are HIPAA compliant, but I've seen software as cheap as free, like VC, which are HIPAA compliant, and I've seen some where you could pay $50 to $60 a month that does basically the same thing. And so I've been trying to, in this presentation, just kind of talk to you about stuff that is a lot more affordable, but that is also HIPAA compliant as well. And this is a screenshot of VC. And you'll notice on here there's 8 people on here talking. They're able to see each other. They're able to talk back and forth to each other. They're able to share applications with each other. So say, for instance, if I want to share my screen with you and let you see everything on my screen, I'm able to do that. If I was working with a client, I want to send them a form that I wanted to get them to sign. I could click a button and be able to send them that type of form. And so at least for the purposes I've had, I use, even in my clinical supervision, I use VC quite a bit. It's been a very good software to use. And once again, I said it is free, or there are some paid versions you can use. But it gets the job done. The video quality is really good. I do think Skype does have a little bit of advantage when it comes to screen quality, but it is good software. And I think once again, it is very inexpensive and it is HIPAA compliant. So at least from my perspective, it's one of the best of both worlds there. Also, Hushmail is the email that I use exclusively. What this does is HIPAA, once again, HIPAA compliant email that you can use for your client. The only time I usually use email with my client is maybe confirming their appointment time, things of that nature. But this software is really good. What you're able to do if you want to use their free account, it's very limited on its ability to store data, but you're able to send encrypted email. So, for example, I may send out an intake form to a client or something of that nature, and I can actually put a password on the email. And so once the email gets to the client, if they don't have the password, they're not able to open the email up at all. Everything in the email is jumbled up quite a bit, and so they do a very good job on keeping client information as secure as possible. I personally use the $50 a year Hushmail account. There are a lot more features on it, and with that, I'm able to get emails on my smartphone if I choose to do so, and you get 10 gigabytes of storage. And so once again, this is one of those where at $50 a year, it is very affordable. Or you can, like I said, you can use a free account as well. There's just not as much storage. But when it comes to being secure, hands down, this is the software that I use on a regular basis. All right, PayPal. There are several out there, different ways of being able to get paid online. I prefer PayPal just because I've been working with PayPal for quite a while. One good thing about PayPal, which we'll talk about websites in a few minutes, they make it very website friendly. On my website, I have a payment page where my clients will go to, and they'll go to the website and they will choose what type of session they're going to do. If they're doing a 25-minute session, or if they're doing a family session for an hour, they're basically able to click a button and they're able to pay online, and then I get an email that tells me that this client has paid. And what this does, it keeps everything very simple when it comes to payment. I don't have to worry about my clients getting behind on paying and things of that nature, because that is happening before the counseling process even begins. Like I said, you can. PayPal has a thing where you can get a PayPal debit card where the money is. You can use it immediately as soon as they pay you, or you can have it transferred to a personal or a business banking account, and it takes 2 to 3 days for that to happen. But the transaction fee is not. It's fairly reasonable. It's 2.9% for plus 30 cents on each transaction, and so personally, I do try to build that into my prices when it comes to working with my clients, and so I try to pass that on. But like I said, when it comes to using PayPal, there's a mobile app for your iPad or your Android phone as well, and so it does make it very convenient to be able to get paid, even if you're in your counseling session or on your website, and be able to get paid as soon as you possibly can. Now, next, I want to talk about two different website companies that I've used. Therapy Sites is one that is sponsored or has been endorsed by American Counseling Association and NVCC and other websites like that. I have used them for about 3 years. I recently just switched from them, but like I said, it is a good website company. What they do is they specifically have websites based for mental health therapists. So that's really what their focus is on. And so they have, I think, approximately 15 to 20 different templates that you can use. Very, very easy to use. Even if you don't have that much any background in building a website or anything, it's very, very easy to use. You just go in there, edit the information, and make it look exactly like you want to. You can integrate it with PayPal, so you can use your PayPal account on this website to get the information from them. They have a new feature called appointment request, where the client, you can actually put your open schedule on your website, and your clients can actually just go to your schedule and plan a schedule with you without them actually having to call you or anything. And so you get an email about that. And so basically, you put your open slots, and they're able to fill them, and it makes it scheduling a lot easier. And that way, people can know when your open times are and when you're not able to see them. If you decide you want to have your own personalized domain name or a specific name for your website, you're able to buy one of those and then integrate it with this website, which is a fairly inexpensive type thing. It does have an email system that comes with it. And one thing, my favorite thing I love is you're able to use it with Google Analytics. With Google Analytics is just a website that allows you to track where people are coming from when they come on your website. You're able to know how long they were on there, what keywords brought them to your website, how long they stay on your page, things of that nature. And so it's really a good bit of tracking software that is on there that helps you kind of see where your clients are coming from. They do. There's a $59 monthly fee for this website. You don't have to sign a contract with them, and like I said, there's no setup fee, but it is $59 a month. I did use them for, like I said, for about 3 years. I recently just switched away, and it was simply from a pricing perspective. I found some other sites I felt like that just to get this job, but it was more affordable. So I don't use them anymore, but once again, I do recommend them if you're funding wise, that's something you can do. What I've recently switched to is a website called Weebly.com. Weebly pretty much does some of the exact same things that you can do on the other site I just previously mentioned. There are customizable web templates on there. I think they have 60 to 100, so there's a lot more variety when it comes to the different templates. Now, they're not specifically just for mental health therapists, but once again, they do have a section specifically for that. Once again, you can do the PayPal integration, which works really great with that. Personalized domain name, you can check your stats. The biggest difference I saw between Weebly and other sites is $8 a month versus $60 a month. And especially if you're trying to do things as frugally as possible, once again, I think this website is excellent for the money you're paying, and it looks every bit as good as the other website. And so I've recently just switched over to Weebly.com, and I think for the price point, it was something where that simply I could not beat, and so that's the site I'm using for that training there. Once again, when it comes to resources, there are two main trainings out there. The Ready Minds training, they still continue to do their training. They were actually recently bought out by the University of Phoenix, and so they're working with them on their training. It's $5.95 for that training. I have recently just updated the training I have. It is training that you get 16.5 hours of NBCC CEUs for that training. And so those are two of the bigger trainings that are out there on this topic. If you've not read the Therapy Online, a Practical Guide book, I would suggest using that book. There's a lot of great information that will help you in the practice of therapy online. It gives you some very practical tools on how to work with clients, advertising, things of that nature. But at least from my perspective, it's been very beneficial. I know Mertz and Anthony, they came out with another book, I think just last year, as a follow-up to this one that I have not had a chance to read yet. But just from my experience so far, they have been the best when it comes to getting information out on how to practice online. And so these are just a few resources on how to go about having knowing some of the basic knowledge of using therapy online, and also some of the ethics that kind of go along with it. I want to open up for any questions that anybody may have.
In Arkansas, how many hours of training specific to technology do we have to have when we renew our license?
You have to have 6 hours of continuing education. Any specialization license that you have to have 6 within that 2 year within that renewal period. So if your license is due next year, you should have had 6 in that time period.
Okay, and where is a good place to get those?
Well, I'm providing some on the Renewed Vision training website. Like the training you're doing literally right now, that will count for that training as well. I'm coming out with trainings probably on every other monthly basis, getting those things out. Ready Minds has trainings as well on this topic. And so these Ready Minds and the Renewed Vision training, I guess, are the two bigger sites to find these trainings. Because once again, it's one of those things that is changing all the time. I just recently did one on using this method in counseling supervision. So I think I have right now probably 5 or 6. I think I may have the 6 hours already available. But like I said, Ready Minds does have some as well. I know they at least have 6 hours. And so it's just, once again, finding those trainings. But these are the two, I guess, the best websites to find them right here.
Okay. course, I've been worried about where I'm going to come up with those. And, of course, I appreciate you doing this, and I'm sure there will be more. But 6 hours is several for this very specific little niche here.
Yeah.
So, okay. I was wondering, when you switched over to Weebly, were you able to carry your domain name with you?
I was. I had to go through. It was a little bit of a tiny process. It wasn't that bad. I had to. I use GoDaddy.com as my hosting service for my websites and my names. And so basically, what I ended up doing was sending them a request to therapy sites, and they got to take care. It takes about a week to transfer everything over, which actually worked out great because I was able to build my website on Weebly while the name was transferring over. That way, whenever everything was done, it took literally once the domain name was transferred over, it took 30 minutes for everything to be updated. So it was a very smooth process. But like I said, it'll take you about a week to do that if you want to transition over from one site to another.
Did you have to pay therapy sites for it?
$15. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I paid them $15 for my website name, and then they transferred it over to me. And so now that name belongs to me.
Oh, well, that's not bad. I figured more like $1,500 or something.
Oh no.
Okay. All right. I'm trying to remember. I'm using Not VC. I looked at that, and I cannot remember the name, and I'm not on my personal computer right now. But I found one that I thought was a good buy. You got 4 free sessions, but then I saw that I was going to have an affiliate agreement with them under the new HIPAA rules.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I went to do that, I found out that I had to have, with this new server, new website stuff, or not the new website, but the new video provider, I had to have a higher degree. They didn't provide the affiliate agreement with the free service. I had to pay for the next higher level in order to get the affiliate agreement with them. So I had to go on to that. And I do not remember right now what that is.
Yeah, that's I guess that's a good and bad thing about online paper right now. There are so many different people getting into the game of software. The problem is that there's so many different options you have out there, and so I try my best to, when I find a good one, stick with it for a while. I mean, if you need additional resources, I can definitely help you find some of those. But I try my best to stick with a couple. Like the VC's been good for me thus far. There's another one called COUNSOL Counsel.com, and I think it's like $50 a month, but you're able to do video and everything all online. And so it really comes down to what your budget is going to allow you to do. But at least for my private practice, I'm trying to keep my prices as low as possible. So I try to use software that does the job. And if I don't have to spend a ton of money on it, I try not to. But like I said, there's a lot of software that's out there.
Okay. Yes, there are. I had a list. I can't remember where I got it. And there was like, 50 on there. And I was trying to work my way through them. And some of them were, just totally what I didn't need. But I did find one or two that were doable.
Gotcha. Were there any other
That's
questions
all
you
the
can think?
questions I can think of. Yeah, I can't think of anything right now.
Well, if any other questions come up for you, you can always email me at renewedvision@hushmail.com. I'm able to answer any questions for you there. Like I said, in anything you can, even if you get your website going and everything you need somebody to look over, I have no problem doing those type of things. But like I said, I'm excited about these trainings coming out. Like I said, we do have another one coming out in December, looking at how do you advertise, things of that nature. And so,
Okay.
any way I can assist you, let me know.
Okay. I'll look forward to it.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right.
I hope
Well, thank you very much. Okay. Bye-bye then.